Good day, sir. I am Lovely Suzanne Charlon, and this is my graphical analysis video portfolio for this subject, International Economics. So this portfolio has been divided into 8 chapters. Chapter 1, the Introduction on International Economics. Chapter 2, the International Trade. Chapter 3, Absolute and Comparative Advantages. Chapter 4, Trade Barriers. Chapter 5, Open Economy Macroeconomics. Chapter 6, Balance of Payment. Chapter 7, Import and Export. And Chapter 8 is the International Monetary System.
Chapter 1, Introduction in International Economics. So it looks in how disparities in consumers' preference and productive resources across national borders affect the economic activity. It also looks at how the institutions interact with one another internationally. So the graph below indicates the trade of sugar between the Brazil and US. The exports to the United States will reduce the supply of sugar in Brazil when rising its price, while the imports into the United States will increase the supply of sugar and it will lower its price. So when the price of sugar is in the same both countries, there is no incentive to trade further. Chapter 2, International Trade. The buying and selling of goods and services between the businesses in various nations is referred to as the international trade. On the global market, commodities such as consumer goods, raw materials, food, and machinery are all bought and sold. So the graph given is the Euro area international trade in goods back in 2004 to 2013. Germany posted the biggest surplus, followed by the Netherlands and Ireland and Italy, while France registered largest deficit, followed by Spain and Greece. Chapter 3, Absolute and Comparative Advantages. The absolute advantage refers to the ability to produce more or better goods and services than somebody else. Comparative advantages refers to the ability to produce goods and services at a lower opportunity cost, not necessarily at a greater volume or quality. In this case, country B has the absolute advantage in producing both products, but it has a comparative advantage in trucks because it is relatively better at producing them. Country B is 3.5 times better at trucks and only 1.17 times better at cars. However, the greatest advantage and the widest gap lies with the truck production, that the country B should specialize at producing trucks and leaving the country A to produce the cars. Chapter 4, the Trade Barriers. Trade barriers are government-induced restrictions on the international trade. According to the theory of comparative advantage, trade barriers are detrimental to the world economy and decrease overall economic efficiency. The main types of trade barriers used by countries seeking a protectionist policy or a form of retaliatory trade barriers are subsidized, standardization, and tariffs, quotas, and licenses. Tariff increases the prices of imported goods. Because of this, domestic producers are not forced to reduce their prices from increased competition, and domestic consumers are left paying higher prices as a result. Tariffs also reduce the efficiency by allowing the companies that would not exist in more than competitive market to remain open. The graph below illustrates the effect of world trade without the presence of a tariff. So at a lower price, domestic consumers will consume QW worth of goods, but because of the home country can only produce up to QD, it must import at least QW minus QD worth of goods. Chapter 5: Open Economy, Macroeconomics. An open economy is one that interacts freely with other economies around the world. An open economy interacts with other countries in two ways. It buys and sells goods and services in world product markets. So the rate of economic growth of output and of productivity in an economy depends on the technical relations with the rate of growth of the inputs of capital, labor, and other economic resources that enter the production process. So in the study of SICA 2006, Philippines has literally surrounded by these countries in the north, Japan as the earliest achievers during the 1950s to the 1970s, the South Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore, and Malaysia. As of today, China is repeating an early economic miracles of those countries but on a larger scale. Indonesia had done very well for decades, but its performance was reversed by a loss of momentum after recent political and economic crisis. Chapter 6: Balance of Payment. The balance of payment summarizes the economic transaction of an economy with the rest of the world. These transactions include export and imports of goods, services, and financial assets along with the transfer of payments like the foreign aid. The figure below shows that China's second quarter balance of payments data points to a significant increase in foreign asset accumulation of the state banking system. For the first time, the net foreign asset accumulation of the PBOC and the state banking system looks have returned to close to $100 billion, a sum roughly equal to the current account surplus. The net foreign asset position of the state banks increased by about another 50 billion including the trade credit, and the bank also account for the majority of the 14 billion or so in Chinese purchases for the foreign bonds. Chapter 7: Imports and Exports. Exporting refers to the selling of goods and services from a home country to a foreign nation, whereas importing refers to the purchase of foreign products and bringing them into one's home country. So according to the Philippine Exports and Imports statistic as of May 2020 up to May 2021, the balance of trade in goods is the difference between the value of export and import. The balance of trade in goods in May 2021 amounted to negative $2.76 billion, representing a trade deficit with an annual increase of 109.7%. The trade deficit in the previous month recorded an annual increase of 1,548.9%, while in May 2020 it was at negative 64.0%. Chapter 8: International Monetary System. The International Monetary System refers to the operating system of the financial environment, which consists of financial institution, multinational corporation, and investors. The International Monetary System provides the institutional framework for determining the rules and procedures for international payments, determination of exchange rates, and movement of capital. This figure exemplifies the current dominance of the US dollar in all domains, in international debt assurance, international loans, foreign exchange turnover, global payment, and foreign exchange reserves. The euro, a more regional dominant currency, comes distant second.